first message, our gratitude to God and our supplications that we need from God. So on this one, I call on Matthias. So I hope I'm not going contrary to the condition. Who is the nearest? Matthias. Matthias. Come on. Matthias. Oh, yeah, Okay, thank you, Mr. Matthias. We skipped something and we need to observe it. As good hosts.
Thank you, Hishodi. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hishodi. Thank you so much. Quickly, without much ado, we'll be going straight to the opening remarks by Hishodi.
As good hosts.
Put your hands together. Welcome the professor. Thank you so much. So, without much ado, we'll be going straight to the thank you so much. Quickly, without much ado,
thank you.
We'll be going straight to the opening remarks by Hishodi.
As good hosts.
Put your hands together. Welcome the professor. Thank you so much. So, without much ado, we'll be going straight to thank you so much. Quickly, without much ado,
thank you.
We'll be going straight to the opening remarks by Hishodi.
As good hosts.
Put your hands together. Welcome the professor. Thank you so much. So, without much ado, we'll be going straight to thank you so much. Quickly, without much ado,
thank you.
We'll be going straight to opening remarks by Hishodi.
As good hosts.
Put your hands together. Welcome the professor. Thank you so much. So, without much ado, we'll be going straight to thank you so much. Quickly, without much ado,
thank you.
we'll be going straight to opening remarks by Hishodi.
As good hosts. Address Anambra is a brief one, and on behalf of the Department of History and International Studies, Faculty of Arts, and the University of Nigeria, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this auspicious occasion, marked out as one of the events to commemorate the 70th anniversary on behalf of the Historical Society of Nigeria. We thank the HSN for recognizing the place and roles of the University of Nigeria in historical scholarship, especially here in Nigeria. To a large extent, a very large extent, the Department of Planning is resolved by the Department to do everything possible to go ahead with the hosting of these Europe events, regardless of the plans and children. Let me also thank the active vice principal of the University of Nigeria, Professor Rose of the College of University of Nigeria, and the Dean of the Historical Professor, especially here in Ibadan. With the very large
Thanks so much, Daniel. I'll just spend 1 minute to, first of all, appreciate the department for accepting and taking up their premier role and responsibility in hosting this colloquium in the department. I also want to spend 1 minute to thank for the communication, appreciate the staff and the department all for is to help ourselves and taking up their premier society to grow hosting this colloquium. We are here for the colloquium as part of the 70th anniversary of our historical society of and I'm here for the so we are 70 years of our society and I believe historical society of and I'm here for so we are 70 years of our
Stop.
contribute. Several universities are inducting their students into the society. With that induction, it will give you a variety of opportunities once you live here. On this note, please, gentlemen and ladies, I, on behalf of the acting president of the Historical Society of Nigeria, Professor Sarah Ware, I declare this colloquium open. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Obiato, for that very academic discussion. And President of the quickly, we want to take a good message, or if you like, a remark by the secretaries of the Historical Society of Nigeria. He will be coming here discussing his good message. It's not that person, Professor Patrick Fokasi. Let's put hands together for this. A good message. I want to stand on the Professor Patrick Fokasi. Let's put hands together for this. Professor mentor father. My present place of work in South University in Colloquium and since then, was below going back. Lack words to describe his person and personality. I'm really glad to see him today after a long time. I would also like to especially thank the acting president, who is here represented by Professor Obiako. Professor Obiako is Vice President Southeast, a wonderful member of council. Alongside the head of the department, Professor Amici, they made our stay here worth the while. They explained very well. I think Professor Jeffrey attest to the hospitality of the speech. I also like to thank very specially Professor Jeffrey, who had to counsel a number of engagements to be here. For those of us who have been talking, I know what you did on here. Don't be surprised that even when from now you carry his bags and start running the place because he has to counsel a number of engagements to be here with us today. It shows the type of importance they have attached to the activities of the PHSM. I want to thank the entire department for staging this wonderful event at a short notice. The notice was really very short. Activities to celebrate our 70th anniversary, which is ongoing. Started a month ago in Abuja, where the HSM presented a book, The Military Factor in Nigerian History. The event was well attended, and we were able to put Yakubu Gawan. For the first time, Gawan stood for more than 1 hour to speak to a number of historical issues. Some of the people that attended that event told us that it's been a long time that Gawan spoke like this. A month ago, but the committee graciously extended it by 1 month. So if you have not done that, you have to wait to do so. I will be happy to receive your inputs. The discipline has been able to do so much despite challenges. The committee, as the secretary, if I want to speak, I will continue talking. The acting president, the presenters have already spoken to a number of issues. We are currently doing inductions. We are happy at the rate at which universities, particularly students, are excited to induct a number of issues. We are currently doing inductions. Those of you that are on the platform of the society, just recently we inducted well over 200 students.
they are definitely attracting university. It was a huge success. It was immediately followed by my school where we inducted well over 60 students. And then Identity University took the stage a week ago. We inducted about 70 students. And the big one is coming from the University of Illinois. We interested to know that the students on their own organized called me and said they want to be inducted into the society. So I think we have 450 students to be inducted in the University of Illinois. That is huge. Last year, 4 similar inductions in the University of Calabar, University of Port Harcourt, Kaduna State, all over the country, Federal University of Africa, and so on and so forth. As a primary university, we want the University of Nigeria to take the center stage like the acting last year, 4 similar inductions. We want you to provide the need. It was deliberate that we chose the University of Nigeria, just like we chose our primary university. We have this Colloquium. So the theater have already spoken on the role of our primary university. It was deliberate, no matter what you do as other universities, you can't take it away from the University of Nigeria, University of Ibadan, and Malaysia universities. They provided not just the manpower we need for other universities, but they provided critical manpower for the entire country. So we want the university to take the lead in the activities of the society and therefore students to start history is getting started right of place. You will recall that the discipline was yanked away from our curriculum. He took the intervention of Professor Yakubu Chefu, Professor Olayebi Akinwumi, Professor C.T.M. Ndogo, Professor Okweokwe, and presently Professor Samuel Adaliyo, 5 successive presidents to fight for the return of history and forces of education. It came to fruition in 2022 with the Federal Ministry of Education working closely with the Universal Basic Education launched the return of history in our basic curriculum. To fight for history as return. But the good news is that it was not just a policy pronouncement. The Federal Ministry, just about 2 months, a month ago, UPE contacted the Historical Society of Nigeria and they want to monitor the return of history in our schools. HSN nominated some universities policy, and that was the team just about 2 months ago. The report of that, I think that's a huge success for HSN, for the discipline. We have a number of students that have come to the university to study history, but didn't do that in secondary school. We know that my daughter in just finished JSSA is also studying history. And so we know that by the time these ones get to the university, we will not need to start from the basics like we have done with a number of them presently. So we are making progress and we call on all of you to support us. Finally, I would like to ask this despite the short notice, we know that we have finished by
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you, and we are so encouraged by what you said. Quickly, we also want to welcome the President General of Itoman Nation. I want to take a quick message from Professor Oche. Come on, let's take a
the President General of President Generalship until I cross the border. I want to appreciate our young ancestor. In this business of ours, they are professors and they are professors, and we know ourselves. So when you come to the rest, when you see the number of professors, I want to understand who is the ancestor. They are the ones who remind you, even though you are 10, 15, 20 years as a professor, they remind you when they taught you in your 100 level. And for Professor Joku, I think he represents that generation that were students of those who established the historical lecture of Nigeria in 1955. Where were you in 1955? So, some of us pride ourselves on having been around for a long time. When we see our ancestors, we see the spiritual ground. This historical center of Nigeria was established as a rest of the Ibadan from Ibadan. Like has been rightly said, some of us express ourselves in spreads around the long time. There is one senior area set up meeting house school, another team came to Suka and set up. This historical setup Nigeria was established. So we decided deliberately to hold the Colloquium history of this. What we are doing now is going on simultaneously. And it's being live streamed. So you can, if you go to just the same thing. Dito, if you go to the southwest, it's live streamed. In fact, in the case of Ibadan, after giving birth to Zaria and Soka, it continued to reproduce itself. I attended the University of Calabar, and I don't want to in a discipline, the first professional academic society in Nigeria. We felt we needed to showcase ourselves in the places where it all started from. And while preparing for the major event in October in Abuja, where in addition to celebrating our 70th anniversary, we are also hosting the 6th Congress of the Association of African Historians. And it will be the first time that historians from all over Africa will visit Nigeria or hold their Congress. So this 2025 holds a very special day for us, and we were supposed. And he said, not teaching history is like waking up in the morning and losing your memory. You know what happens when your smartphone is flashed? You lose everything. You have to start repeating all over again. That is what not having history does to you. When he put it into motion, the bureaucracy kicked in and did not allow us to make the type of progress that we wanted. Not teaching history is like going to a second visit of elders, the likes of E.J. Alaba. When we went to Obasanjo, it was Ajayi, we lost everything. When we went to visit the Goodluck Jonathan, it was that is what E.J. Alaba that led us. The likes of Ambassador, the Ghana too. He put it into motion. The members very well allow from the lectures in history, Nigerian history and culture at the GST level that E.J. Alaba, the likes of E.J. Alaba, when we went to Obasanjo, the situation as far as the discipline of history is concerned. Part of what I'm supposed to do today is to also serve as
Reconnect to that hotspot.
I will combine the two very quickly to set the topic agenda. Part of what that when you are supposed to be disciplined as important as
Reconnect to that hotspot.
knowledge space for this law has been confined to set the body of academics that practice that discipline that without any visible connection with the rest of the struggle. So the conversation we want this law today is a generational conversation. Those of us who belong to the ancestor class, those of you who are, if the society will progress as those who say who died yesterday, and those who are patterns of the moment, those of us and those who are young child. So these three generations, we must have a totally frank conversation amongst ourselves. Where are we? Most often, when we talk about the generation that is coming, we make reference to those good old days. We like to make reference to those good old days. when this was that, when that was this, when this was that. And I like to remind my generation that in those good old days, we did not have the internet, we did not have the smartphone. Those good old days were the good old days of carry number when you go to the bank. Those good old days were days when you carry a phone, you'll be looking for the dialing tone for 1 hour before it comes. And of course, those good old days were the days that if you had a boarding pass, they did not guarantee you a station at place. You had to rush to the tarmac and fight to climb over and get a seat. And if somebody sat in your seat before this was that, sorry, you are coming down because that person likes to climb over. And then we fast forward to these days whereby on our smartphone, we can do so many things. So those of us who were born before computers, how do we engage our younger generation? Already, if you are on certain channels on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook, you will find that a lot of awareness is being built. They are using our children are using technology, digital technologies to drive historical conversations. Already, even though some of them are a bit crude and some of them miss some of the historical channels once. On Instagram, TikTok, we find that we are getting there as it were. So how are we as teachers engaging our students in the context of digital history, digital technologies that are there that we must engage in and see how we can work with our students? When I came into this hall, I asked the head of the department, "Are we live streaming this event?" He shook his head. I knew that he was a BBC, digitally challenged. So I told him, I said, "How can we live stream this event?" And of course, he knew what to do. And that is how we make the live streaming. So this is the type of dynamism that we expect, as far as our relationships are concerned. 15 years ago, I was invited to give a memorial lecture on the memory of Pastor Nanda. Probably Mr. Joko and a few others will go to remember who Pastor Nanda is, one of the greatest and and I was going to say because Pastor Nanda was in and I said, what am I going to talk about? I was going to say, I was invited on the subject of active genetics. And that is keep on what and it's not like it's to pass of genetic history. And I dabbled into the field of molecular biology. I'm trying to see how we can constantly leverage to navigate oral traditions and solve historical problems. And I'm like, what is the historian doing in the biology now? I found out that is his natural habitat. Because this biology is a life science, history is the study of life. So should we not actually the worst conversation with biology? I'm asking the question, should we not? Or how genetic use spiritual healing and just as we use DNA to solve forensic issues, we can also use oral history to solve historical issues. To what extent are we engaging students, showing them that there's opportunities in this particular research? Then lastly, to what extent when we are teaching entrepreneurship, and our students say, how can I use history as a business model? How can I make money from this that I learned? I don't want to be a researcher, I don't want to be university, I don't want to work for government, I don't want to do business, I want to make money. But I really do how can I trust this? How can I use history to drive my entrepreneurial dreams? To what extent are we teaching our students that there's something to believe, there's big business to be made that is impossible to achieve. And I like to say myself as somebody who in one breath I pride myself as a student of economic history. In another breath, I pride myself as a university administrator, and in the third breath, I pride myself as a part-time entrepreneur. Because I have used history how to produce space. I've used history to drive a number of consultancy projects. I've used history as a platform to drive my digital technology partners. So I can make more money from digital technology using this chair as a platform, everybody was professor. But I think about a lot because I don't have that knowledge of history. I probably would not have done many business myself. So we need to have this kind of conversation that the way we were trained, the way we look at history, the way we taught history, the way we read history, the way we taught history to our students, and it's because the global environment of community is changing very rapidly. And the generation of students that is coming, the one that are going to take the masters of us and make progress. We need to understand and be exposed to some of those fascinating technologies so that we can operate like the world that we operate. That's the story. So that note, I'd like to thank you very much for honoring us and listening to us well. I will only give the department the master if the head of the department is the group head of online community after this. Everything has gone well. And finally, the head of department. I'm going to sponsor the top 2 students, best male, best summit in your final year class, who are visitors to attend the celebration conference. So please, and the HOD, no HOD will find this here. It's the students that so I will pay for their registration, pay for their transport, and pay for their accommodation so that they can come and be part of that celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, if you don't clap for him, you're not going to Thank you, Prof. That was very extensive. Before we go to the Colloquium proper, I want to invite also our father, the please, if you don't clap, okay. All right, if you don't clap, I will not give you the please, if you don't clap, you don't clap. Thank you continues to do what the relationship between technology and intellect and culture. One area that I don't know about is the first problem that is the West Africa, reporters from Europe. Those who were far away from consumers along the way, those uniforms began to break down. The dead was left for them. And it was along the way they met the issue of transfer of technology today. One area that they were challenged to do something and do it by themselves along the West Africa. And they got the reporters from Europe. The debate over whether other technologies come and set up general hardware materials of don't drop something. This is modern technology.
But you don't know how those things were produced. And that is where history comes in. Our own fathers started experimenting on something that we were execution. But those things rolled out along the way. They didn't have connection between those who supported them and those who were continuing their lives. And that is exactly what Trump is trying to say. You have to very well really something without knowing how those things came about. You cannot really pass from really certain things and only establish the situation. I think that's the basic thing he's trying to say. But you don't know how those things were protected. That is very our own looking experimenting on something that the historian is about those things going out. Why does it look back for restaurant? Because you cannot really define today and understand it very without knowing the concept. So, very important to say that really fully manufactured structures and establishing them here in this country. And we say we are industrializing. That is fair. That is what fair. Because this is external experience, we just can all saving those things, but they produce them themselves. Consortium and impossibility. And I think this is what it is saying. The first time I thought to me about him was when I was asked to do English speaking during one of the tests. That's when I got forgotten. And I have all so much praise, which I eventually did recognize. This is where history is very important. What I was he was an ambassador to the Americans. Project he used critical knowledge to perform a work very, very efficiently. And he was hardly sought after. So, what he's saying is that we should do history from that perspective. How we can use it to solve problems. And I think that is what it's for. If you just try and then you get an A. So you are not a historian in that way. You are a historian when you are able to apply the knowledge to deal with the existential community. I was very embarrassed because 3 years of forever. Yes, something that we can produce is that we should do Christmas. You said his lecturer, I mean, that he what he said, which I think that needs to be is make it practical, make it work, so that we can apply the lesson we learned from it to deal with the existential problem of the race. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We are about to go into the academic exercise before I hand over the line to Professor Patrick Cassie. I think while the lecture was going on, or rather the moving message, one of our staff, of course, walked in with the staff of the department, another person, then Dr. Uche Opo, our president. Your presence. In the absence of any other thing, we want to go straight to the colloquium. Colloquium. talking about placing. All right, course, sir. I want that microphone to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Well done. A round of applause for our MC. Thank you very much. That means this session is hereby very close. So we are going to move into the second session, which is going to be our panel discussion. So we are going to rearrange the platform and invite our panelists. Thank you very much, Reverend. Hello. We have other microphones available. I would like to invite the following panelists upstage. Professor Chidi Amino. Should come on stage. A round of applause for him. We have other microphones available. Professor C.C. Opata. Please, a round of applause for him. Come on stage. Professor A.P.M. Dr. Mrs. N.A. Obiani. I would like to invite and Chidinma Opsigoche and Chidinma Opsigoche, Professor Chidi Amino, Ms. Chidinma. Professor C.C. Opata. Please, students, please don't leave the hall. You will benefit even more than your teachers from this panel discussion. So please don't leave. Those ones that have left their seat, please ask them to come back. So, you need to step back. To the students, please don't leave home. You will benefit even more than your teachers from this adult teaching. Please don't come. Let me see them and come on stage. A round of applause for her. To the students,
Yes, sir. The students shape and I.
so like our topic, the topic for our colloquium, 70 years of historical scholarship, nature, dimension, challenges, and of course, the way forward. If you listen to the interventions of Professor Nwachukwu, the interventions of Professor Yakubu Osekwa, and of course that of our daddy, Professor Njoku, they have already laid the foundation and set the tone for this conversation. But I would like to pick from where what the lecturer said during his presentation. As I quickly underline that statement, because for me, he said, using all indices of measuring activities, Africa is at the crossroads again, and history as a discipline come to the rescue of Africa again, and how can we have a discipline to actualize that? Possible. Unfortunately, however, history itself is also at a crossroads, struggling to survive. There are numerous challenges facing the discipline, which needs to be resolved in order for the disciplines to rescue themselves and the continent. Immediately he said that it struck a note. And when you put all of these issues together, you now have to think that this colloquium is coming at a very important time. There is a saying, and I always ask my students that question. Britain claimed the 19th century. The United States claimed the 20th century. That Africa or Nigeria claimed the 21st century. The 21st century is barely 25 years old, and we still have about 75 years to the end of the century. Is it possible for us to turn things around such that at the end of the century, the 21st century, beating our chest and saying that Africa was particularly precisely the same, and the conversation will flow in this order. I will put the first question, and the panelists will have the first 5 minutes each to make their interventions. And thereafter, there will be follow-up questions as we go on and on. For us in the discipline, we know that we've had a level of challenges during this colonial period. African historiographers tried to debunk a number of claims about this. And since then, we have tried to navigate this. The number of challenges up to where we are in this colonial period. I would like for my panelists to speak to the theme of our colloquium. In 5 minutes to talk about very quickly its nature, dimensions, up to where the challenges of historical scholarship in the last 70 years. I will start with
Thank you all while understanding on this approach. I have to say that historical scholarship in the past 70 years in Nigeria has been what it sought. Looking back to this time, 70 years ago was 1955. If we look back, you observe that by that period, apart from the University College in Ibadan, there was no other university in Nigeria or even technical things. So that was the starting point. And at that period, most of the teachers there were from Europe. Looking back to this time, 75 ago was 1955. And the students were really then was as University College. I think most of the students came from British West Africa. They were all there, and by that period, the issue was that Africa has been actually argued and abandoned because one cannot be talking about knowledge of God. One cannot be talking about obtaining education within the ambit of African scholarship without understanding the basics. The basics in this sense I'm trying to say is that colonialism, we all have gone on to say colonialism has been the problem of understanding the basics that was as a result of enslavement that all these colonialism I believe today in African scholarship has been argued and abandoned. Because African history, African scholars should now be interested in those things that make for the development of Africa. Because why must only our civilization be very big? We only to find our civilization in the developed world. You'll find most of them standing today. You look at the school, you'll find out that most of the structures there were medieval period. But coming down, take for example our own university today, in the last 10, 15 years, most of the structures here that depict the history of this university have been pulled down. Well, we have several hectares of land or used land where one can establish. We want to build anything. Another university, in fact, 3 universities can build of them. But they chose to bring down all those buildings that were used to open this university. Then some of us are wondering, is it now to make the University of Nigeria an equivalent of Covenant University School? You'll find out that I don't think that the structures there very genuine. But for those of them in administration that feels that whatever they do, that the thing is to there is never a yesterday. There will always be that the history of this. But looking at it, the difference in the universities that you come, you find this university was established in 1960. You move around, these were the first blocks and you want to build anything. These buildings were built between 1955 and 1959. Chose to bring down where the university was. These ones were I prefer to put this. And I believe that the interest in maybe playing down on history that history is young patients acting like the culture, waiting for you to play your part. When you leave this history, you come at a time you can no longer defend yourself. These ones were, and I believe those in leadership positions don't want because one day somebody will come up and say, oh, while you were in university, you were in charge of students going to did it, I have evidence. And in order to represent some of these things, we have to be pushing history aside. But unfortunately, That is like fire. You cannot give light and put each other in. Not one thing. Because one thing probably is not say good. Whatever university you can kind of students want to did it, I have evidence.
Thank you, moderator.
And in order to retain some of these things, we have to bring this But unfortunately, that is like fire. You cannot give light and put each other in. Not one thing. Because one thing probably is not say good. Whatever university you can kind of students want to did it, I have evidence.
For us here in Nigeria,
And in order to retain some of these things, we have to bring this unfortunately.
I would say that about 50 years in Nigeria was still battling to achieve freedom. I don't say political freedom. So with that, it supported from the days of slavery, colonialism, and so on and so forth, up to 1955. That history took it upon itself as a discipline to restore Africa. And when we look closely, we discover that almost every discipline, in fact, one time, I don't want to say the sciences, the arts, and so on, everything seems to have collapsed into history as a discipline. Because it started with proving on itself, attempts to prove that we are human beings, that we were, equal, that we have equal right with the independence, the whites, and the rest of them. And after that, we started, trying to prove that we can rule ourselves. We started excavating, past kingdoms, past leaders, and so on, that did it in the past, how Africans organized themselves. If you ask me, it was history that achieved independence for Nigeria and Africa. If we look back at the days of Pan-Africanism and so on, every black man all over the world, including Nigeria, of course, looked up to our past achievements in order to prove that we have a right to exist, that we have a history. And from here, we achieved independence and continued moving. Of course, universities were established, and history, became properly situated within the universities. And of course, if we also look around, we discover that history was a beautiful bride then for people that wish to further their education. History was a beautiful bride, and history led the way. Historians led the way, in everything we're doing here. And then, up to a point, the glory of history started fading. It started fading. That is, even the Africans or the black men all over the world, having attained freedom, thought that it was everything, that they had achieved everything, not knowing that the battle, was still ahead. And of course, all other problems, challenges crept in. Want me to mention ethnicity, bad leadership, and the rest of them crept in, and history was brushed aside. And the moment we started, forgetting history, we started digging our own, the very pits that we eventually fell into. And let me just telescope it. And at the moment, I want to say that it got to a point where history was entirely abandoned. Of course, we have continued to reiterate the challenge of removing history from the curriculum. Of course, that's a way of telling us if it had continued, history would have even been phased out from the university system. That where are we going with history? So, but thank God, we eventually started, making moves to bring history back So what I'm trying to say is that it's not just enough for us to bring history, to succeed in bringing history back into the curriculum. Have we, as a society, as a people, have we realized what we lost or what we lose by forgetting history? The history that rescued us, that told the world, proved to the world that we are humans, that we achieved this in the past and we can still do it. Yet, the other parts of the world to start reckoning with history, we abandoned it. And today, I want to say that we are still in the woods because some of us, feel that we have achieved equality with the rest of the world. But because we have forgotten our memory, like Professor Chepu said, history is like memory to the individual. The moment you forget your memory, of course, you will lose your sense of direction. And that's exactly what is happening today. And by so doing, we discover that both the leaders, especially the political leaders, don't have any sense of history and can't really look at up to history again for any sense of direction. And we've been reading and passing exams and going when history, has failed to contribute again towards the development of the society. Development in all its ramifications. And today again, we feel that we are moving forward when we are not. When you look at what today, is it technologically, is it politically? Think of it, even economically, we are not going to be found easy. And even those of us in history, we are forced, directly or indirectly,